In June 1812, around 600,000 men walk east into Russia. It is the largest army anyone has ever assembled in Europe. 6 months later, of the main column that marched all the way to Moscow, about 10,000 walk back out. You already know the reason. Everyone knows the reason. It was the Russian winter. Except it wasn't. By the time the first snow falls, more than half of that army is already gone. Gone in summer, in heat, in fields. They were not frozen. They were starved, and then something very small finished them off. So this video is really about a different question, and it is one you can ask about yourself. What actually happens to a human body when it runs out of food? Not in theory, hour by hour, day by day, week by week. Because 600,000 people found out, and they wrote it down. You are one of them. You are 24 years old and you are carrying a musket and 4 days of bread. Let's find out how long you last. Start with the easy part. You stop eating right now. For the first few hours, nothing happens at all. Your body runs on glucose in your blood, and when that runs low, it opens a small emergency store called glycogen. Glycogen sits in your liver and your muscles. It is sugar, packed and ready. It is also tiny. In an adult, it is roughly 1 day of energy. 1 day. That is the entire buffer between you and the interesting part. For a soldier walking 30 kilometers with 30 kilos on his back, it is a lot less than 1 day. So on the march into Russia, an army is never more than about 24 hours from real trouble. Everything Napoleon does in 1812 is a race against that number. Because an army is not a thing that eats occasionally. It is a thing that is always eating. Stop feeding it for 2 days and it does not get hungry. It gets smaller. And he loses it in the first 3 weeks. The 24th of June, 1812, the river Niemen. You cross on pontoon bridges and it takes your army 3 days to get across. 3 days of men, without a break, walking past the same spot. There are Frenchmen, Poles, Italians, Germans, Dutch, Croats, Portuguese, Swiss. Roughly half of this French army is not French. With you go around 180,000 horses. Remember the horses. The horses matter more than almost anything else in this story. You are in a good mood. Everyone is in a good mood. Napoleon has not lost a campaign in Europe, not one. The plan is simple. Walk in, find the Russian army, beat it in one big battle, sign a treaty, go home before autumn. It is a plan that has worked 6 times. Now, the part nobody puts in the paintings. How do you feed 600,000 men? You do not. The French army had spent 20 years perfecting a system that mostly skipped the problem. They lived off the land. Soldiers spread out, walked into villages and took what was there. In Italy, this worked beautifully. In Germany, it worked beautifully. Those places are full of farms, close together, on good roads in warm weather. An army moving through them is like a hand moving through a fruit bowl. It also made Napoleon fast. No supply train means no waiting. His enemies moved at the speed of their wagons. He moved at the speed of his men. That speed is the whole reason he kept winning. In 1812, he knows Russia is different, so he does prepare. He builds up depots and orders thousands of supply wagons. It is the largest logistical preparation of his career. It is still nowhere near enough, and the reason is not a mistake. It is arithmetic. Here is the arithmetic. A man on campaign needs somewhere around 1.5 kilograms of food a day to keep marching. 600,000 men is therefore something like 900 tons. Every single day. A horse eats far more than a man. Add the 180,000 horses and you need several thousand tons a day. A supply wagon in 1812 carries under a ton, and the horses pulling it eat as they go. Push that wagon far enough and the horses consume the entire load before it arrives. There is a distance beyond which a horse-drawn supply line simply cannot deliver anything, no matter how many wagons you have. Moscow is roughly 900 kilometers past the Niemen. So the army has to eat Russia, and Russia is the wrong shape for that. The villages are small, far apart, and poor. The roads are sand tracks that turn to soup in rain. And the Russians do something that breaks the system completely. They retreat and they burn. Grain stores, standing crops, barns, whole villages. They set fire to their own country as they go. You are marching into a place that has been emptied on purpose. So your foraging parties walk further, then further. Then they stop coming back at all. And the marching itself is eating you. A man carrying 30 kilograms for 30 kilometers burns something like 5,000 calories in a day. He is being issued on a good day considerably less than that. So even the men who are fed are running a deficit. They are being drained slowly, on purpose, by the plan. Every single day of the march, the whole army gets a little bit weaker, and nobody notices because it happens to everyone at once. The horses go first, and this is the moment the campaign is actually lost. It happens in the last days of June, before a single major battle. A thunderstorm hits the army, cold rain for days, then blazing heat. The horses have been eating unripe green rye because there is nothing else. Green fodder plus exhaustion plus cold rain kills them in enormous numbers. Estimates for that one storm run to 10,000 horses in a few days. Now follow what a dead horse actually costs you. No horses means your cavalry cannot scout, so you stop knowing where the Russian army is. No horses means your foraging parties cannot range far, so you can only strip the ground right beside the road. No horses means guns and wagons get abandoned, and everything on them is lost. The army does not starve because Napoleon forgot about food. It starves because the machine that collected food died. By the time you reach Vilnius, a few weeks in, tens of thousands of men are already gone. Sick, deserted, or dead beside the road, and it is July. And there is a second thing the horses were doing that nobody thinks about. They were carrying the sick. An army with wagons can pick up the man who collapses and take him along until he recovers. An army without wagons leaves him where he fell. Every horse that died converted a temporary illness in some 20-year-old into a death sentence. Meanwhile, inside you, your glycogen ran out a day ago. Your body now has a problem it must solve immediately. Your brain runs on glucose and it will not negotiate. It burns roughly a quarter of everything you consume. So your body starts breaking down fat into something called ketone bodies, which the brain can burn instead. This takes 2 or 3 days to spin up properly, and those days are the worst part. Headache, weakness, cold hands, a strange irritability that men in 1812 describe again and again in their diaries. Then, if you have fat, it settles. Hunger actually fades. This surprises people. Around day 3 to 5, the gnawing hunger drops away and is replaced by something flatter and colder. You are not comfortable. You are running on your own body and you can feel it. And here is the detail that decides who lives. The bigger you are, the more fuel you burn just existing, and the faster you strip through your own reserves. A large, muscular grenadier burns through himself faster than a small, thin man walking beside him. We have seen this before on this channel in the snow at Donner Lake, where the strongest men died first. It is the same physics. Muscle is expensive. There is one more thing your body does around here that is worth knowing. It turns the thermostat down. Your heart rate drops, your body temperature drops, you feel cold when nobody else does. It is a sensible economy. It is also why a starving man freezes at a temperature a fed man finds merely unpleasant. Hold on to that. It is the whole explanation for what the world thinks happened in Russia. Now the part that actually kills most of you, and it is not the hunger. You have not changed your shirt in 6 weeks. Nobody has. You sleep pressed against other men for warmth. Your clothes are wool, and wool is a city. You have body lice. Everyone has body lice. Body lice carry a bacterium called Rickettsia prowazekii. It causes typhus. The louse bites you. It defecates while it feeds. You scratch and you rub its waste into the wound. That is the whole transmission. You infect yourself by scratching. 8 to 14 days later comes the fever, the headache, the rash, and in a starved man, very often the end. In a well-fed population, typhus kills perhaps 10 to 20% of those infected. In a starving one, it is far worse because starvation does something specific to you. Your immune system is made of proteins, and proteins are expensive to build. A body running on emergency fuel stops building them properly. Your defenses quietly switch off. This is why most people who die of starvation do not actually die of starvation. They die of an infection they would otherwise have survived. And we are not guessing about any of this. In 2001, construction workers in Vilnius dug into a mass grave and found thousands of Napoleon soldiers. Scientists tested the remains, and in the dental pulp they found DNA. Rickettsia prowazekii, the typhus bacterium, and Bartonella quintana, which causes trench fever. They also found the lice themselves, still in the fragments of uniform. 2 centuries later, the actual killers were still in the grave with them. The 17th of August, Smolensk. You have been in Russia for less than 2 months. There has been no great battle. Napoleon has not been defeated anywhere. And the central column has lost roughly half its men. Let that sit for a second. Half an army gone without a battle in summer. The Russians burned Smolensk rather than leave it to you and keep retreating. This is the moment to turn around, and several of Napoleon's marshals say so out loud. He does not turn around, and the reason is not really military. He needs a battle. A battle produces a defeated enemy, and a defeated enemy signs a treaty. Without a battle, he has walked 600 kilometers for nothing, and everyone in Europe will know it. So he keeps going toward Moscow, chasing an enemy who will not stand still. And notice what has actually beaten him here, because it is not a general. It is distance, an empty landscape, a louse, and a horse that ate the wrong grass in June. The greatest commander in Europe has been dismantled by logistics before the fighting even started. The 7th of September. Borodino, 70 miles west of Moscow. Finally, the Russians stop and fight. Around 250,000 men face each other. In roughly 10 hours, something close to 70,000 of them are killed or wounded. It is one of the bloodiest single days of the entire 19th century. Napoleon wins it, in the narrow sense that the Russians withdraw and he holds the field. But he does not destroy them, and destroying them was the entire point. The Russian army walks away, still an army, and leaves Moscow open. You get the city, you do not get the treaty. And you have just spent a large part of what was left of your strength to gain a building. The 14th of September, you march into Moscow. It is almost empty, most of the population has left. That night, fires start. Within days, most of the city is burning. The fire destroys perhaps 2/3 of Moscow, and with it, most of what you came here to eat. Napoleon now waits 5 weeks in the ruins for a peace offer that never arrives. Those 5 weeks are the most expensive decision of the campaign. It is late September and October. The weather is still fine. The roads are still hard. This is the moment when leaving costs nothing, and he spends it sitting still. Because leaving without a treaty means admitting the whole thing failed. So he waits, and the calendar keeps moving, and the food does not appear. On the 19th of October, he finally gives the order to go home. By then, his men have been on short rations for 4 months. They are not soldiers who are about to have a hard winter. They are already deep into the process we have been describing. Their fat is gone. Their immune systems are already down. Their thermostats are already turned low. The winter is about to arrive and find them like that. Back inside you, we have reached the stage nobody wants to talk about. Your fat is running out, and your body still needs some real glucose that fat cannot provide. So it turns on the last supply. It starts dismantling protein. That protein is you, your muscle, converted into fuel to keep your brain running. You lose your thighs first, then your arms, then the muscles between your ribs. That last one matters more than it sounds. Weak breathing muscles mean a chest infection you cannot clear. Your heart is a muscle too, and it is not exempt. Men at this stage describe a specific thing. They sit down to rest, and then they simply do not get up. Not drama, not agony. They sit, and the machine has nothing left to start again with. Survivors of the retreat write about walking past men sitting quietly in the snow, awake, watching them pass. Nobody stops. Everyone knows there is nothing to give. And again, the big, strong men reach this stage first. There is a part of this that the diaries keep circling around, and it is not the body at all. It is what hunger does to the person inside it. And we know this one with unusual precision, because in 1944 somebody ran the experiment on purpose. At the University of Minnesota, 36 healthy young volunteers agreed to be deliberately starved for 6 months. They were conscientious objectors. They did it so scientists could learn how to safely feed people liberated from occupied Europe. The men were fed roughly half of what they needed, and they lost about a quarter of their body weight. The physical results were expected. The psychological results were not. The men became obsessed with food in a way that took over everything. They collected recipes. They read cookbooks for hours. They hoarded kitchen tools they had no use for. They talked about meals constantly and about almost nothing else. Their interest in sex disappeared entirely. So did their interest in other people. Friendships fell apart. Men who had volunteered together out of principle became irritable, withdrawn, and suspicious. Several developed serious depression. One of them cut off 3 of his own fingers. And these were volunteers. Warm, indoors, safe, being watched by doctors who knew the exact date it would end. Now put that same process into a man walking backwards across Russia. No end date, no doctor, snow, and a rumor that there might be a dead horse 2 miles ahead. This is why the retreat descends into something that looks like a breakdown of everything. Men rob each other. They refuse to help. They walk past friends and feel nothing. It is easy to read that as men becoming monsters. It is not that. A starving brain is a brain that has been narrowed down to one question, and the question is food. Everything else, including who you thought you were, gets switched off to save fuel. Now the retreat. And here is the cruelty of it. You go home along the same road you came in on. The road you have already stripped bare. Twice, if you count the Russians burning it first. There is nothing to eat because you ate it in July on the way to a victory you did not get. You are attacked constantly by Cossacks who will not fight you properly, only pick off stragglers. The horses that are left begin to die in earnest and men eat them. Horse blood, drunk hot, horse liver, raw. Discipline goes. And only now, in the first days of November, does the real cold arrive. It falls hard, well below -20. Understand what the cold is doing here. It is not the killer, it is the accelerator. A fed man in a coat survives -20. Men do it every winter. A starving man cannot, because shivering is muscle work and he has no fuel to burn and barely any muscle left. The cold does not kill the army. It kills an army that has already been hollowed out for 4 months. The 26th of November, the river Berezina. The river should be frozen. It is not because of a thaw, and the Russians hold the crossings. Napoleon's engineers build 2 bridges by standing in freezing water in shifts for hours. Almost none of those engineers survive. The army crosses over 3 days, under attack, while thousands of stragglers and camp followers pile up on the eastern bank. When the bridges are burned to stop the Russians, the people still on the wrong side are left there. Estimates of the dead at the Berezina run into the tens of thousands. The word still exists in French. A Berezina means a total catastrophe. 2 weeks later, Napoleon leaves the army and rides ahead to Paris. He has a government to hold together, and he does not intend to be a prisoner. What is left crosses the Niemen in December. Witnesses on the other side describe them and cannot find the word for what they are seeing. Not an army, not even really men. Shapes wrapped in whatever they could find, silent, walking. So add it up honestly. Around 600,000 men went in, counting the flanking corps and reinforcements. Something like 100,000 came out alive, and many of those were never in the march on Moscow at all. Of the central column that actually walked to Moscow and back, the classic figure is about 10,000 still in the ranks at the end. Now the part that matters, because it is the whole point of this video. Most of that loss happened before the snow. The army lost roughly half its strength on the way in June, July, and August. The 3 big killers in order were disease, starvation, and desertion. Typhus alone is estimated to have killed more of Napoleon's men in 1812 than the Russian army did. Combat. The thing every painting shows you is not first on the list. It is not even second. And this is the pattern every time a large group of humans runs out of food. You do not usually die of hunger. You die of an ordinary infection because hunger switched off the thing that was supposed to fight it. And the strongest go first, because a big body is an expensive body. One more number, because it says everything about how this is remembered. The Russians lost enormous numbers of men in 1812 as well, from the same cold and the same diseases. They were on their own ground, with supply lines that worked, and it still cost them terribly. Winter was not a Russian weapon. Winter does not take sides. It simply arrives and finishes whoever is already too weak to argue with it. So, back to the question we started with. What happens to a body when it runs out of food? 1 day, and your sugar is gone. 3 days, and you are burning your own fat and the hunger goes quiet. 3 weeks, and you are burning your own muscle. And somewhere in there, quietly, your immune system stops being able to afford to defend you. That last one is what actually gets you, not the empty stomach. The infection you would have shrugged off in June. Now, where were you in all this? You never volunteered for the foraging parties that rode out and did not come back. You never pushed to the front at Borodino. You were small and you were unremarkable, and you stayed near the middle of the column where the wagons were. You ate less than the big men beside you, and you needed less, and that turned out to be the entire trick. Every impressive man you marched in with is somewhere under a Russian field. You are not brave. You were never brave. And that, once again, was the smartest thing you ever did.